This is Rounding Third, Boston Podcast. Harrison Smith and Nick Arno are breaking down every pitch, every game, and every series. Live every week. This is your home for all things Red Sox. Let's talk Sox.
Welcome back into Rounding Third Boston, episode 11. This just in, Garrett Crochet is pretty good. I'm Nick, and we have a Harrison tonight. How are we doing, Harrison?
Fantastic, Nick. How we doing?
Doing all right. I'm, riding the roller coaster about this Red Sox team like everybody else. But yeah, we'll dive right into it. But first, make sure you follow and like us on Facebook. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can also follow on Instagram, Rumble, and TikTok. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, we have our affiliate sponsors. You can find links to these companies, Dick's Sporting Goods, MLB Shop, and Lids at the tops of all of our socials. If you buy products through these companies through our link on our socials, we get a nice little kickback with no additional cost to you, and it's just a great way to support the podcast. So please use those links and continue to support us. We really appreciate it. We also have our Rounding Third merch on Rounding Third Baseball on Etsy. So you can find sweatshirts, t-shirts, mugs, anything you want pretty much is on there. And if there isn't anything there that you would like, let us know, and we can definitely create it and put it up there. But thank you to everybody that has already placed orders. It's a great way to get our name out there as well. So
yeah, we appreciate you carrying the logo wherever you go.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Here we go. We're going to dive right into the Red Sox here. Sox traveled to Tampa after a tough week last week. We talked about it a little bit, losing 2 out of 3 to the White Sox and just tough. So they travel to Tampa after salvaging that last game in Chicago, and they get smoked 16-1 in game 1. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. I mean, nothing really to talk about in that one at all. They just got
a disaster.
Demolished. Next 2 games, they win. They salvage the series. Alex Bregman goes 5 for 5. We're like, all right, great. This dude's on track. Then goes on paternity leave. Bye. See ya. Cool. Awesome. Yep. But the Sox needed that bounce back series after the week they had, for sure. Is Tampa Bay kind of like Sacramento out there for the A's? Like it's just going to be a homer dome. We're going to see a lot of high run games, do you think, out there?
I think you will for now. I think when you get into the summer and that air is thicker and it's hotter and it's more humid, I don't know how well the ball is going to carry there. I know they say that the heat helps the ball carry, but the humidity also, fights against it. So I don't think you're going to see that continue. I do think that you're in a minor league ballpark. So by nature, it's going to be a little bit smaller and more friendly. So maybe some of those weather effects will be offset and the home runs will continue. But I don't see how anybody continues the pace that they're on, the rate they're on. Because it's been nuts. I mean, we've seen so many balls leave the field. We've seen so many balls go to the opposite field that look like fly balls that end up in that little picnic area or the concession area. It carries really well there. Yeah.
So, I mean, having said that, the Rays and Yankees did play a 1-0 game there the other night. So who knows? But
yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean, and I will say that in that 16-1 game, as ugly as it was, Shane Baz was great, and he's one of the people you actually want to watch with the Rays. And he was great. He was as advertised.
I mean, the Rays always have those pitchers, man. It's just a organization that just keeps pumping pitchers out, and it's wild. It's like, oh, Glasnow's gone. Well, just pull up somebody else.
It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, Baz, he's got a sub-2 ERA. He just fills the strike zone up. He doesn't get a lot of like solid contact. I mean, he's a guy that's fun to watch. And in that game, he was going against the guy in Tanner Houck, who pitches the same way usually. But as we've seen earlier this season, and we've talked about it on the show before, is Houck is filling up the strike zone. The problem is he's missing a lot of spots.
Yeah.
And when he misses his spots and he ends up over the middle of the plate, his stuff is not Garrett Crochet's to get away with that. He gets hit hard, really hard.
Thanks, Edward. Yeah, this is our Red Sox version of this show. So the big show will be on after. But yeah, this is just solely Red Sox right now.
It's our chance to be homers.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the White Sox come to Fenway. Red Sox win game 1 convincingly, 10-3. 2 3-run homers by Trevor Story. He looks good early. He's taking great swings, great passes at the ball, hitting the ball hard, pretty solid defensively, as he always, usually does when he's healthy. But I mean, loving Trevor Story's start right now. Narvaez and Rafaela also homered in that game. Narvaez getting a ton of time with Connor Wong's injury, the broken finger. I might be in the minority here. I might not. I don't know. I like Narvaez behind the plate better than I do Connor Wong.
I am I mean, I think I asked the question on the show a couple weeks ago, does Narvaez push Wong for more starts? And I think we both agreed, yeah, he will. He handles the pitching staff well. He receives the ball well. And I think he's better offensively than we thought. I mean, this is a guy that he doesn't have a lot of experience, so you don't really know much about him. The book on him was good catcher, maybe he'll hit. And he's proven he can hit. And that's kind of a bonus because honestly, out of the catcher position, you don't expect to get a lot of offense. And I know Wong was a bit of a different kind of catcher in the fact that he is more offensively geared. Good arm, okay defense, good bat. Narvaez is good behind the plate, good defense, good arm. It looks like potentially a good bat, and he might be the most rounded of the two.
But defense always plays. If you have an offensive first catcher and you're not hitting, which every hitter in Major League goes through slumps, goes through dry spells, right? So if you have an offensive-minded catcher and he's going through a dry spell, he gives you nothing.
Right.
If you have a defensive first catcher and he's not hitting, Martin Maldonado, right? The guy can't hit water if he fell out of a boat. But his defense brings so much to the game that you can't not play him. And that's how Narvaez is. But his at-bats early in this season has been incredible. So I really like what he's bringing to this Red Sox team.
And to make the point about Maldonado, this is a guy that was a pretty important piece of that Astros run there for a little while. And there were rumblings of cutting back his playing time. And the pitchers were the ones saying, you can't take him away. We like what he does.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the best, if not the best defensive catcher in the league at that time.
Right.
Couldn't. Sox win game 2, 4-3 behind another insane start by Garrett Crochet. This dude is an absolute machine. 6 innings pitched, 7 Ks, 4 hits. And the 4 hits were soft. I mean, nobody hits the ball hard. They're getting jammed off the end of the bat. It's unbelievable. Devers with a 3-run shot opposite field. He looks like he is back on track, and it is incredible. Thank God. And then the walk-off wall ball by Casas. We'll get to Casas in a little bit because I do want to talk about the future of the Red Sox this season and what that may or may not look like. And then Red Sox lose today, game 3, 8-4. I didn't see that one, just looked at the box score and looked like the bullpen coughed it up late, 7th, 8th, and 9th, it looked like.
Yeah, it was not a good not a good game for the Red Sox. And not to jump across to another headline, but we did see the return of Liam Hendricks in this game. He did give up a 2-run home run, but he was out there. But Zach Kelly came in, a bad error by Bregman, and we'll get into Bregman's defense here in a minute because that's been a disappointment. Bad error there, add a home run. And, all of a sudden he gives up 3 runs without recording an out. Hendricks gives up 2. Bernardino gives up another one. And you've got, the bullpen comes in and basically takes Houck's 6 innings and 2 earned and just tears it up. And gives it all back.
Yeah, Houck gave those 2 up in the first, right?
Yeah, early.
Then he settled in. So which Houck does that. Houck does that sometimes. Comes in, has a rough first inning, and then kind of settles in. But I mean, the bullpen's coming back down to earth, right? The first couple of weeks, they're like, oh, they haven't given up an earned run. They look good. Maybe they're not as bad as we thought. But it seems like they do this every single year. The bullpen comes out, and they are lights out for like the first 2-3 weeks of the year. And then it's just like cough up city.
Yep.
So here we go.
Yeah, it is what happens. And, we said going into going into the season. The Achilles heel of this team is going to be that bullpen. If they, doesn't matter how good the offense is or how good the starting pitching is, if they can't hold leads, which they're now beginning to show that that's going to be hard, then this could be a long season. If that bullpen can get on track and just carry some leads, then we'll be all right. But it's going to be if the first 23 games of the season are proving anything, it is going to be a roller coaster ride with this team.
Yeah. I mean, as we kind of figured, right? The offense was going to hit. The offense was one of the best in the league last year. Just couldn't prevent the runs. But whatever. Marathon Monday tomorrow. That's always a big day in Boston.
Yep.
It's one of the best games to watch. They have the 11-10 start. They end the game. Then the marathon finishes. It's a Boston holiday for sure. So looking forward to Marathon Monday tomorrow.
Yeah. And just to go back to the Trevor Story thing real quick, I think lost in a lot of the early season headlines and focus has been Trevor Story's start. The focus has been on Devers slump and then on Bregman, how he's fitting in. And then all this kind of noise around Anthony and Casas' struggles. And in all this, Trevor Story is actually off to a fantastic start. He leads this team in hits, leads this team in home runs. He's third in RBIs. He's tied for the lead in stolen bases. He's got the highest batting average. He's got the second or third highest OBP. I mean, this is the Trevor Story you thought you were going to get. The problem is, how long does it last? And that's been the issue with Trevor Story since he got to Boston is it's not that he can't play. It's just he can't get on the field enough. And if he continues, honestly, he's been really the bright spot here in the last week and a half when everybody else has been kind of scuffling and trying to figure it out. He's been pretty consistent, but this is who you thought you were getting. Yes. You just don't know how long it's going to last.
Yep. 1,000% agree with that. All right. So let's kind of get into the whole, construction of this team. So are the Sox just waiting for an injury? Is Roman Anthony stuck until there is an injury? And we've talked about blocks before. Who are the current blocks for Roman Anthony right now? Because he is tearing up AAA, and it looks like he is ready to be up here, but there's nowhere to put him. So who are the current blocks?
I think the obvious current blocks for him are the outfield. It's everybody. I don't count Jarren Duran as a block because he's not going anywhere.
No.
But I would say your blocks currently are Rafaela, Abreu, but I don't think Abreu is going to go anywhere. And really, I think in terms of players that legitimately could get out of your way would be Rafaela right now. He's probably the only guy that you've got truly blocking your path. Now, if Anthony could play second base or somewhere else, maybe it's a different story. Could play first base, maybe. I think it's really Rafaela. And I will say, I think the performance of Roman Anthony is a little overstated. I mean, this is a guy who's hitting 273 with 4 home runs and 12 RBIs in AAA. I mean, good start, but he's not down there hitting 375 with 6 tanks already. Like he's off to a good start. He's where he should be. I think what happened is he hit 2 just monster bombs in a game, and Boston fans started like foaming at the mouth to get this kid up.
Yeah.
And the Red Sox still want to see him have better at bats. They still want to see him hit lefties better. He still has work to do. If he's sitting there right now hitting 375 with 6 bombs and 20 RBIs and he's making a mockery of AAA, I think that's a different story. They're probably trying to find a way to get him on the team. 273, 4 and 12. That's a good start. But they send him down there with a plan as to things they want to see him do. And until he does those, he's going to stay down there. So I don't think there's any rush from Craig Breslow to bring him up. I think it's inevitable he's going to be here at some point, but you're not in a rush. You're not being pushed to have to bring him up. I will say, Rafaela's hitting 209, David Hamilton's hitting 073. Like, I think the Red Sox are feeling the pinch on the major league roster. They need more performance. They need out of their starters, because this lineup's been a bit of a wild card. And I think that's the pain they feel, is that could Anthony change it? But at the same time, I don't think you're convinced he would. So why make the move early?
Yeah, I think it's everything you just said, and I think it's the pressure from the fans knowing that he's the number one overall prospect right now, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's
Yeah, he's
that's
the guy.
the
He's
other
the future.
part, right? And it's like he's the number one prospect in MLB right now. Why isn't he up here? Like we see the Red Sox kind of playing 500 ball. Would he make this team better? Yes, but like you said, I think the Red Sox have a plan for him. And as we're going to get into on this next slide, there's a lot of pieces that could be moved. Maybe it is later in the season. Maybe it's mid-June. Maybe it's trade deadline. And we see him come up for the second half of the season. Because I think the Red Sox are going to ship a couple of these guys out eventually. And there will be a spot for him. Yeah.
And I think the Red Sox, to Edward's point, I think the Red Sox are looking for who is that somebody that's going to step up, who is going to take the reins. Bregman hasn't really. Devers, with that after that crazy slow start, is still kind of in recovery mode. Casas has been a mess most of the season. You know, they don't, and Duran's also off to kind of a choppy start. Other than Abreu, you haven't had a consistent performer. It's been Story lately, Abreu for the first week or two.
Yeah.
You don't have that one guy right now that you can look at every night going, okay, like I'm getting something from him, because you just don't.
Yeah. I agree. So here's one of the other pieces of this whole puzzle. Masataka Yoshida. First question, where does he fit with this team when he's ready to come back? Or does he? Does he even fit?
I don't think there's a spot for him unless you're going to. I mean, he's in the same boat as Roman Anthony. There's no playing time available for a guy like Yoshida right now, who is a DH/outfielder. There's no playing time for him. So unless you're going to make some more dramatic move, like put Devers at first or put Bregman at first and move Devers back to third and put Yoshida in at DH, or you're going to trade or send down a guy like Rafaela, I don't see there being a home for him. And I think that's why you haven't seen him yet or heard much about him. He's down in Florida. You know, they say rehabbing in air quotes. I think they're stalling to figure out what they're going to do, because his contract is too big to just toil in purgatory like he is. Like, you've got to figure out what the plan is.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's a massive trade piece. And I think at this point, I mean, we saw him hitting spring training. He looks like he's okay, right? He was ripping the ball all over the park in spring training. Again, yes, spring training. I get it. You pretty much know what pitch is coming when the pitchers throw it, because, you know, the other team's like, hey, you're only throwing cutters today. So I get it. But there's, like you said, there's no spot. He's got to go. I just don't see him playing for this team this year. And if it is, it's because someone gets hurt, you know, heaven forbid, in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And be like, oh yeah, he's ready. He's ready to go. Here he is. And
then I think the hard part is, what value do you get in return from? I don't think you get a lot. And I think that's where somebody like a Rafaela comes in to try to, or you pair him with a Casas and you try to find value where you can find value. And honestly, at this point, you go out and you trade those guys for bullpen arms. That's probably your biggest weakness right now. It's the bullpen. You need to get a couple of guys in that bullpen that can stabilize things.
Yep. So we have kind of thrown this around too, is putting Devers back at third. Bregman said he'd play anywhere, right? So you can move Bregman to second. Campbell's proven that he can play anywhere in the outfield. So maybe that's a spot. But then again, who do you sit? Duran, Rafaela, or Abreu? Like, because Campbell's not coming out of this lineup.
No, so two more hits today. I mean,
yeah, Rafael is the odd man out here, right? He has to be.
When you look at the pecking order, the two guys at the bottom of that list are David Hamilton and Rafaela. I think the first guy you make a move on is Hamilton, but you need somebody in the infield that can backfill him, because he is your utility guy.
Right. And Rafaela has proven he can play in the infield, so he would cover that utility spot.
Yeah. So Hamilton's an easy one where you could kind of slide him out. But again, to your point, so you bring somebody else. So you add Yoshida to the roster or Anthony to the roster. where do they play?
Yeah.
Like where in the lineup do they get at bats?
I don't know. I mean, it's a great problem to have. I mean, there's a lot of teams that would love to have hitters just kind of stashed in Florida, like rehabbing,
Yeah.
that don't have hitters. But I don't know where all these guys go or where they even fit. And like I said, baseball gods are cruel and they have a way of working out as the season goes on. You know, no one stays healthy for a full 162. Let's be honest, right? I mean,
no, you need depth.
It's rare.
This is a season of attrition where people are fading and falling out and needing breaks. So
yeah,
depth is key. I do think the more I've thought about that, and the more we've talked about it, I keep coming back to the idea of the Red Sox are in this spot because there aren't any like clear blow you away starters. Like you look around that team and like Rafaela, good piece. Wilyer Abreu, good player. Jarren Duran, I think he's possibly an MVP candidate, but again, possibly. Casas, good player. Like you don't have guys like, with Yoshida, it's not like, wow, he has to be in the lineup every day. He's that good.
Right.
With Abreu, it's not like he has to be in the lineup every day. He's that good. Rafaela, it's not like he's got to be in the lineup every day. He's that good. You have a lot of guys who are good to very good. Yeah. But what you're lacking is that high end top tier talent where you're like that person's a starter, period, end of story, no debate. And the reason this is such a tough conversation is because you don't have that clear cut number one guy at many of these positions. You have this guy's a little bit better than that guy, so he should start.
Right.
And that's the part I think that makes this so frustrating is that you just don't have that clear cut number one guy at each position.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, John, hang on to this because we'll be coming back to the Mariners and Red Sox preview next week for sure.
All about the torpedo bats, baby.
Yeah. So, yeah, we kind of already covered the other one. What his return would be? He'd definitely have to be a package deal with somebody else.
Yeah, I think you pair him up. It's him and Casas if you want to go get a starter, like you want to go to Seattle for a starter. It's him and Rafaela if you want to go and cherry pick somebody's bullpen. I just don't know what you're going to get a lot for him because somebody's going to have to eat that contract. And it's not a great contract. And, I said that when he was signed. Like, I didn't like the deal. So I thought they were overpaying for him, and so did the rest of the league. And I think he's proven that. Like, you did overpay for him. He's a good hitter. But again, he's another one of those guys who's good. And you're paying him like he's great.
Yeah. So who are the trade pieces right now? I have 4 here. I have Yoshida, Casas, Rafaela, and possibly Marcelo Meyer. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, I look around that team and obviously not going to move Bregman at $40 million a year. I think Trevor Story's a trade piece. If you could find somebody who would take the contract. I think there's teams out there that would want a veteran shortstop with some pop, and Trevor Story could be a piece you'd move, and that would open up a spot for Meyer. I mean, I don't think Marcelo Meyer is a trade piece. I think the Red Sox are high on him. I do think Rafaela is one. I think Casas is one. I think Yoshida is one. Those are clear. Other than that, I don't think you've got a lot of guys that are super high value. You can't move either of your catchers. You would never move Abreu. You'd never move Duran. You'd never move Campbell. I think that's basically your list. And maybe it's Meyer / Story, depending on what a team wants.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the only way that Meyer would be moved is if there was a clear superstar on the trade block at the deadline and the Sox were ready to, like, at the top of the division, pretty much a clear path to the playoffs.
Yep.
I think that's the only way you kind of see Meyer possibly move. I don't know. I mean, Story does have an opt-out at the end of this year. So he could be an interesting one to get moved out for somebody. But if he's going to have a season like this, he might want to stay. But
it's going to be a matter for him of can he get the same contract again, or is he going to be? Or how much money would he leave on the table?
Yeah. But you do have some pitching out there available. Dylan Cease will be a free agent at the end of this year. Gallen, Valdez, Michael King. Well, he has a mutual option, so no idea. Bieber, no thanks. Zach Eflin, Ranger Suarez. So I mean, there's a handful of starters out there that could. I mean, Herman Marquez from the Rockies, like he's decent. He has some injury issues, but like we don't know what kind of pitcher he really is because he pitches in a Homer Dome out there in Colorado.
Colorado, you don't know what on earth.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of hit or miss there. But relief pitchers, you got a pretty good list. Diaz has an opt out. You got Williams, Helsley is a free agent at the end of this year. Andres Munoz
he's a guy you make a move for.
Yeah, Munoz has a club option with Seattle, so maybe not there. But Raisel Iglesias in Atlanta. Well, we have Chapman already. Presley's a free agent.
Is Robbie Ray a free agent? Yikes.
Yeah, hey, goodness. But I mean, there's some good bullpen arms to, possibly booster this bullpen. That's what we need right now, glaring. Yes, the lineup's a mess, but it's Pablo Lopez. Is he a free agent? That wouldn't be a bad one either. Yep. So, yeah, I don't know. I think the moves are to be in the bullpen for sure. That's our glaring need. But how Breslow navigates this is going to be pretty dang interesting.
Well, and I think what's interesting too is that when you look at the bullpen, you mentioned a guy like Ryan Helsley. Like Helsley doesn't help this team right now. You need guys that can get you to the closer, get you to the ninth inning.
Right.
Because that's when the Red Sox struggle is they can't get to the ninth inning. Pitcher leaves after 6 with a lead. The 7th and 8th, they blow up. And then it doesn't matter who pitches the 9th because now you're losing. And now today was a great example of that. Houck leaves 6 innings, 2 earned, and then they lose 8-4. They gave up 6 runs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yeah, but if you somehow pick up Helsley, right, and Hendricks returns to form, I know I'm asking a lot from a guy that hasn't pitched in 680 days, but you shorten the bullpen if you pick up a guy like Helsley.
You do.
Be like, hey, you're here to just help us win this year. Like Chapman's got the closer role at this point. He's been pitching there all year. You're just coming here. You're going to be our 8th inning guy. Hendricks is going to be our 7th inning guy. Then you only have to worry about the long relief guys and maybe the 5th and the 6th. Hopefully not, right? Hopefully your starter gets you to 5 or 6 and you limit the time the other guys have to pitch in there and you just shorten that bullpen.
I mean, in a perfect world, yes. The problem is you still have to have depth in that bullpen because you can't throw the same guys every night. So you have one arm does not solve the problem. You need 2, multiple, maybe 3. But again, like the Dodgers bullpen blew a couple leads the last couple of days, the last 3 days. So it doesn't matter. Even the best bullpens are going to blow leads. We don't expect the Red Sox bullpen to be perfect. You just can't do it all the time.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Uncle Ted. There are guys in our bullpen that not many people know about that have good stuff. It's a coin flip every night. Like I hate to bring this guy up because he's not really one of my favorite players, but Ryan Brazier was that type of guy, right? He would come in and throw 9 strikes by 3 hitters and the inning's over. And then the next night he comes out and gives up 12 and doesn't record an out. And it's like, dude, what's the difference here? And that's what this Red Sox is. I think it's just the lack of consistency with them, I guess.
It is. And it's not having the depth of guys you can go to that you feel comfortable that you can count on.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick on Zach Kelly, who got absolutely roasted today, but like, you just don't have a lot of confidence going to a guy like that, but yet he's in your bullpen. So you have to use him at some point, but you got to pick your battles. Slayton's got great stuff. His numbers don't show it. Like at some point you've got to start to deliver those results.
Right.
So like there are guys in the bullpen that are good. Like you have guys that can pitch, but you don't have enough guys. So you're having to mix in, a good and a bad and hope that the bad doesn't blow the game for you.
Yeah.
Because some of the guys in the bullpen, And these are guys that I don't know how they're still around.
Because there's nothing in AAA either.
And that's exactly what it comes down to, is that you just, bullpen arms have always been super valuable because they are very hard to get and keep.
Yeah.
But you just need so many of them, and you've got to be able to mix and match. And right now you've got a bunch of guys with whips over 1-2 that you just don't feel comfortable bringing into late in the game.
Yeah. Caro's going to be really good for the White Sox. That kid looks good. Listen, as we sat here and railed on the White Sox all last year and, going into this year, those young kids that they have look good. And there's more coming because they've done a pretty good job of stocking it up behind them. Colson Montgomery's there. Kyle Teal's coming up. So, I mean, they'll be all right. Their young arms are good. They're just going to develop even more. It's just hard that they're trying to develop on the major league field. Like it's hard to do that. But Chase Midroth, who they got for Garrett Crochet, that kid's come up and just solid contact. He's on base 2 or 3 times a game. It's wild. So the White Sox are in decent shape moving forward. I'm not saying they're going to be ready to contend for the World Series next year, but they're going to develop. They're going to start being able to put pieces around them. I don't think Luis Robert stays on that team for the rest of this year. Some team will go in and grab him at the deadline or something, although he's not off to a great start either. So
no,
I don't know. But the White Sox aren't as bad as they were last year.
I mean, their record isn't showing it, but they've certainly played a lot better. And honestly, if not for such a they had a really rough week. But coming out of last week, they had given up the fewest runs in the American League. Now they're middle of the pack because they had a really rough week. But those young pitchers, I mean, even in the games they've lost, like their starting pitching has been good. Their bullpen's been pretty good, and the games they lose big. Like they just have a bad night and they get blown out.
Yeah,
they've also lost a lot of close games.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, eyeball test, right? Watching the White Sox, they don't look nearly as wretched as they were last year. So just eyeball test, they're better. Not necessarily statistically, but eyeball test, they are for sure. All right.
Well,
so
I'd argue, Nick, that statistically they are better. They're just not getting anything to go their way.
Well, okay, fair.
It's been a rough stretch for the White Sox. They're 5-16. Their expected win loss is a couple games better than that. They're middle of the pack in terms of run allowed. They've scored so few runs, it's scary.
Yeah.
But they've been in a lot of games.
Yeah. Yeah. Just thank God they don't have to play the Red Sox again. Just tomorrow's the last day. Then we can get rid of the White Sox for good.
3 of their 5 wins are coming against the Red Sox, and if they win tomorrow, then it could be 4 of 6.
Yeah, more than half their season total against the White Sox. That's great. So
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna say names of Red Sox players. You tell me if they're on the team at the end of the year or not.
Oh, okay. Right. Yep.
So Yoshida.
No.
Casas.
Yes.
Rafaela.
No.
Meyer.
No, in AAA.
So he's still with the Red Sox organization.
With the Sox, but still in the minors.
Okay, this is interesting for you. Walker Buehler.
No.
You think they trade him at the deadline?
I think if this team is not clearly going to make around the AL East, they unload him.
I'm kind of with you. If they're out of it, he's gone.
He's not been super impressive. He had a good start in his last start. He was very good.
And he pitches tomorrow, I think. I think he starts tomorrow.
Yeah. But I feel like we're off to a bit of a bumpy start with Walker Buehler. I feel like when all those healthy pitchers come back, or actually when all those hurt pitchers come back and are healthy, you may have somebody who's an odd man out. You're paying the guy $21 million. If he's not really blowing you away, you might look to move him to a contender.
Yeah. All right. Willie Abreu.
Oh yeah, he's here.
Okay. That's pretty much all the names I had.
And I think Roman Anthony is still with the Red Sox, but still in AAA. I don't think that he and Meyer are in the major leagues for any long period of time this season.
Yeah.
Do you see this? I don't see where they play.
Do you see the Sox sticking with Alex Cora? I mean, so I finally finished the Clubhouse series on Netflix.
I haven't started it.
It's really good. It's mostly because I'm a Red Sox fan, right? I mean, I'll call it as it is. I'm a homer. But the clubhouse was really cool because it was a lot of off-field stuff. There really wasn't a ton of on-field things. And if it was connected to what they were talking about off the field. I thought it was really well done. I think Alex Cora is so embedded in the decision making with Breslow. After watching this series, this is my take on it. Alex Cora is in that office with him every day, and they're talking about guys. They're talking about who he's starting, which I'm sure a lot of managers do with their general managers, their presidents, whatever. Like, I get it. But Cora is also pulling the strings there in the front office, and his relationship and able to connect, be bilingual with his players, like, that's a huge piece. Being able to connect with all these guys, because right, like, there's even teammates that have hard time communicating between each other. So Cora is that middle guy, and I'm not saying he's the only manager that's bilingual, but it just adds to his value. But his ability to connect with players in the dugout on his team, I think, keeps him here for quite a while. Now, if the Red Sox finish in 4th or 5th, we'll have to revisit, because then I'm like, well, yes, you're connecting with your players, but you're also not getting results. And then that's when it might be time to make a move, because the talents here, they just aren't playing up to expectations right now. So I don't know if that answered your question, but it was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Cora signed through 2027. He got a new 3-year deal last year.
That's
so
right.
He's signed through 27. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. But I view, and I'm not a huge Alex Cora fan. I think he's great with the players. And I'm going to make it a comparison. I know that Nick's going to want to puke, but he and Aaron Boone to me are very similar in the sense that they are great clubhouse guys, former players. Their players love them, but they just don't get the results. And I think there are many times where Cora falls into patterns with how he uses the bullpen, falls into patterns with the lineup. We were screaming last week, like, nix the lineup up, they can't hit, and he finally did. And then they scored 10 runs the next day.
Yeah.
Like, I think Alex Cora is sometimes too slow to make a change. I think for fear of alienating the players he's so chummy with, kind of like Aaron Boone. I think his in-game management is okay. I think there's times he makes decisions that make you scratch your head. So I think the whole body of work, I agree. Alex Cora is a good manager. He's not a great manager. He's a good manager. And his players love him. But that's the exact same situation that Aaron Boone is in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that, Harrison, a little bit. Like, yeah, he's a great clubhouse guy. There's no denying that. But there are some things that he does that, we're scratching our heads. But that's also us watching and reacting, right? Yeah. Most of these managers have a 3 to 4 game plan, right? It's like, oh, well, Harrison, you went out and you threw 30 pitches, you got rocked and you can't come out the next day. Well, that throws a wrench into my next 2 days. And now I have to think on the fly. And that's where really good managers are different than just the good managers. The ones that can make the right move, pull the right strings.
Yep.
And we were talking about Dave Roberts last year, and the playoff seasons before was like, he just seemed like a front office puppet. And then last year during the playoffs, you actually saw him look like he was thinking on his feet, like reading the game and making a decision. And he pulled the right strings. Like, those are two different managers. Dave Roberts' last postseason run and postseasons before. And I don't think Cora is quite there.
But I think that, again, I think Cora has blind spots. I think Cora at times is too loyal to the players and doesn't push for the results. And this is a fair point. He stuck with Devers in the 2-hole. The problem is there was nobody else to take it. Well, I think that was one of those where he stuck with Devers in the 2-hole because there wasn't nobody else hitting anyway. So it's like, well, okay, we'll just leave him there. Let him sort it out. Now, an 0 for 19 stretch, that's rough, but it was only 5 games.
But you also can't mess with that kid's head because he's already in his head. And if you move him out of that 2 spot, you're messing with his head even more. And now that 0 for 19 turns into an 0 for 30.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like,
Moving a guy out after a 5-game slump that's an overreaction. Like, we would have been mad at him for overreacting to moving Devers, but not moving Casas down the lineup for 3.5 weeks
yeah,
as a
that's brutal.
dude hit 160. Like, okay, Alex, like, when are you going to wake up and make a change here? Because it's clearly not working. The kid needs something. He needs help somewhere. And then I also look at the defense of this team the last couple of years, and that's on Cora. This defense is
1,000%.
atrocious. Like, where is Alex Cora? The last time I checked, Alex Cora's career lasted as long as it did because he was good with a glove. Like, share some secrets, pal, because your defense is wretched. There are things about him that absolutely drive me up the wall as a fan. And there's also things I love about him. And I would probably love to play for a guy like that.
Yes.
And I think that's the trade-off. He doesn't care what the fans think. He's reacting to what the players are thinking and feeling and what they need. Get it. But like, Casas hitting $167 a month into the season. Like, come on, dude. Like, make a change. 23 games in the season is a big enough sample set to know the kid is slumping hard. Move him down.
Right. Yep. And he finally did, and he hits a walk-off wall ball double. So
it's amazing the stuff that we see, Nick. And Uncle Ted, we were talking about this before we went on air. Like, Bregman made another throwing error today. He's got 5 on the season.
Yeah.
We were the ones screaming and yelling. I mean, Nick and I personally were screaming and yelling for him to play third and Devers to play DH. And I'm sitting here going, dear God, give me Devers back. Bregman has been awful. Yeah. 5 errors in 23 games ain't good. And this is something we need to talk about too, is do you consider moving Devers back to third when his shoulder's finally healthy, if it's finally healthy?
I don't think it is. His shoulders have been fried since 2021. I think the days of seeing Devers at third are over. Will we see him in there a few times? I think so, yes. You know what I mean? To give Bregman a day off, or if he pops out another kid in a month or something. Like, I think you will see Devers at third base a few times this season. I don't think Devers' shoulders are 100%. You can't tell me that they are. He's been struggling with this since 2021. That playoff run, when he took that check swing and it looked like it popped out, and it's still lingering. I just don't know if you see him at third base for an extended period of time. Like I said, I think you'll see spot starts, but that's about it.
Yeah, and John, Bregman played today. He is already back.
He's back. Yeah,
he's already back. I don't know. I mean, Bregman has proven to be. I think he's gotten off to a disappointing start. Defensively, probably more than anything, he's hitting at a typical pace, but defensively, been rough.
Yeah, Casas needs a new nail polish color. That's true. And this could be it too. This could be just Bregman trying to settle in. I don't think it's him pressing. I don't think it's him trying to do too much. I think he's too much of a professional for that. But it is something to say to get in there, get comfortable with the new surroundings. But these guys are also used to playing in a whole bunch of different ballparks night after night. So there's that too. But maybe the sight lines are different and he's just still getting used to it. I don't know.
Well, I've made this argument before of the fact, getting used to a different visuals and field. But let's be honest, the fields these guys play on, I mean, they don't get any more perfect. And you look at the errors, like today was a throwing error. It was just a bad throw. He just made a bad throw, and it's been just weird errors for him. And I do think that Casas has not necessarily been super helpful on the other end.
No,
there's been some balls he should have scooped. There's been some situations where he could have just shifted his feet and made the catch. I feel like Casas has been a bit of a problem at first base too.
I talked to Sean yesterday, and me and him talked for about 45 minutes strictly about Triston Casas' footwork at first base.
It's pretty bad.
I mean, Sean, he's heated, but I mean, man, oh man, and he's not wrong. Sean hit the nail right on the head. His footwork is atrocious. You look him trying to field ground balls. You look at him trying to set up on the bag. It's not good. He needs work. And to go back to your point, and Sean made this point too when I was talking to him on the phone, was Alex Cora is a defensive guy. What on earth are we doing? How is he not out there with the guys helping them? It's brutal. Edward,
No.
this is a fair question. If his shoulders are so messed up, why is he a DH? Because I think just hitting takes a little bit of pressure off his shoulders. It's the type of shoulder injury he has. I think fielding just puts
And
extra pressure on it.
I
don't.
believe it's his throwing shoulder, which when you swing left-handed is your guide shoulder, not your power shoulder. So I think that it's a little bit less strenuous for that shoulder. But either way, it's not good. Like he hasn't been fully healthy in, like Nick said, in years.
Yeah. I don't know where their lockers are in the locker room, but that's a fair question. It could be. This is an interesting point. We've kind of thrown this around a little bit, but I don't know. I'm not really sure if I see Devers there either. And
yeah,
I don't know.
I think the problem is, like, you want to talk about bad footwork, just watch Rafael Devers play the infield anywhere. I mean, we're railing on Cassis's footwork, but I mean Devers' footwork is pretty atrocious.
Yeah.
And if Ron Washington was available, I'd love to see him join the Red Sox. There's nobody.
Oh, yeah.
I could watch videos of him teach defense for hours just on a loop. I love watching that guy talk defense.
Yep. It's the best. Yeah, he's going to be there for the Angels for the rest of the. I don't even know how long that contract is, but he'll be there for a while, I think. But
yeah,
this
they
would
need him.
I would eat this move up in a heartbeat. Cassis and Yoshida for Muñez, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I'd be making that trade yesterday. But yeah, it's just interesting. It is going to be. I don't know how Breslow's going to navigate this. I think that's what I'm more anxious about, is to see what he finally decides moving forward. Like, how are you going to get these guys at bats? How are you going to move Anthony into this lineup somehow? What do you do with Cassis? What do you do?
Sean?
Yeah. Well, I get it.
I mean,
but,
fair. And all of a sudden the Mariners can hit again, so maybe they wouldn't even want to make that trade.
Yeah. There's a lot of pieces that still need to be moved. Yes, it's early. It's what? April 20th. So it's way, way early to be really talking about this as in depth as we are. But again, we're fans. We overreact. This is what we do. But I think this team looks a lot different in late May, early June. I really do.
Yeah, I think there are some changes coming. And I think, comments in the chat about, if he can play third base, he can definitely play first. If Hatteberg could make the switch to first, I mean, sure. I think there's a perception that anybody can play first base, could just stand there and catch the ball. But I think people need to understand, like, at first base, so much of playing first base is about knowing where you have to be, because you're in every play. Whether you need to know how far you can range. You need to know what kind of pitchers coverings, how far you got to lead them on a throw. You got to make the throw. You've got to pivot and spin on double play balls. You've got to be able to cover the bag. You've got to be able to shift positioning. You've got different cut assignments. You got to trail runners. I mean, I played first base. It takes some time to get used to. And was Hatteberg a good first baseman? No, he was not a good first baseman. He was good enough.
Right.
We're talking about the fact that Cassis has been kind of choppy there. We've seen so many guys make the change from third to first or the outfield to first and struggle and not play very well. I mean, we watched Cody Bellinger go back to the outfield because he couldn't make the transition.
But Cassis has done this his entire career.
Well, Cassis
he
is a different story.
Anywhere else.
Yeah, we're talking about Devers or somebody moving over to first base. Cassis is a different story. I just think there's something wrong with him. Whether he's healthy or just doesn't, whether he's not healthy or just doesn't care. I don't. There's something going on with Cassis besides just not getting it done.
Yeah. So Edward, that's why we do these podcasts, right? We are fans. We just love talking about the game. We love talking about it with you guys. We're fans first. That's all we are. But yeah, and Uncle Ted, I'm with you here. Like,
yeah,
we've been sitting here trying to rack our brain of how to get Roman Anthony up here too. We just don't know how it is. And if it is putting Devers at first base and putting Rafaela, or you cycle your outfield through the DH spot, and you play like a 4-man outfield and you just rotate that fourth position through the DH. If that works, then yeah, I'm all for it.
If I'm the Red Sox, and this would be dangerous because it would absolutely set Tristan Casas off, I would give Roman Anthony a first baseman's mitt because he's 6'2",
Yep.
and say, dude, you're going to learn on the job in AAA. We're going to put you at first base, and you're going to take balls before the game, after the game, during the game, in your sleep. We're going to teach you first base because you need positional flexibility to get to the next level. And maybe that's an angle. To Uncle Ted's point, I would rather take a really bad Devers or Anthony at first base that was hitting over a really bad Tristan Casas who's not hitting.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna play crap defense at first base and mess up the whole defensive set, then at least make sure that guy's hitting.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this could be a possibility too. Bregman said he would play wherever the Red Sox want him to. He says, whatever my name says on the lineup and whatever position's next to my name, I'm going to go play it. Bregman's a gold glove. He won one last year. So he's a gold glove caliber infielder. I think he could make the transition to first base. I don't know if he's technically ready to. I don't think he would ruffle any feathers if he was asked to. But it's another possible solution that the Red Sox probably already looked at some point to try to get a spot open, maybe.
The only thing with Bregman is this is a dude who's 5'11", like standing on his tippy toes.
Yeah.
He's not a big target. Not that it matters. These guys can throw so accurately. It doesn't really matter how big the target is. But when you think of wingspan, reach, his ability to stretch, asking a guy who's 5'11" to play first is hard. Yeah. Most of these guys are 6. I mean, Goldschmidt's 6'4".
Yeah.
These guys that are good first basemen are big guys because they can reach and stretch. Yeah. And they've got massive wingspan.
Yeah.
Could Bregman do it? Yeah, he's super athletic. I'm sure he'd play a great first base. Give the guy a month to learn it, and I'm sure he'd be fine because he knows the infield well enough and he's athletic enough. But
probably wouldn't even need a month.
Yeah, no, maybe not even a month. But because he understands the flow of it. He's a ball player. He gets the flow of the game.
And Captain, I completely agree with this point. You can tell when you have a bad first baseman because if you're good, you go unnoticed. 1,000% with that. Yeah. And Edward, I'm with you here. If it's gonna give you a W, bring him up. I'm with you. You got to win at all costs. And if Anthony's that, then you need to bring him up. However, in the same breath, as much as we're pulling for him to get up to the big club, I also don't want him to be like Jackson Holiday, where he comes up, he can't quite make that jump right away, and he struggles, and you got to send him back down.
Yeah.
I also don't want that. I do want to make sure he is ready. By all indications, I think he is, but I also don't want to jump the gun and have him struggle.
Yeah.
So
and Casas has not played well, Uncle Ted. We totally agree. And we actually, Nick and I talked all offseason, but the Red Sox should package him up with somebody else and send him to Seattle and grab one of those starters. And then they signed Buehler, and a lot of that conversation about needing a starter started to fade away. But I thought they were going to move Casas. The problem is Casas came up with so much hype, and he came up with so many expectations that to just dump him, I think would send some shockwaves to the fan base to be like, well, you told us this dude was our future just a few years ago, and now he's gone. The Red Sox have done that several times. Mookie Betts. We're going to build our team around Mookie Betts. Nope. Bye, Mookie. See ya. Enjoy LA. The Red Sox have done this so many times. They've kind of anointed somebody and been like, never mind. Change the direction.
But I mean, Casas is the left-handed Bobby Dahlbeck. I said it last week.
That's what he's becoming.
And it's too bad. Yeah, I mean, the jump from AAA to the MLB we've talked about numerous times. Like, is tough. I don't know. I mean, I hope he comes up and he absolutely rakes. I do. Like, I'm not wishing for the guy to come up and struggle because I want him to come up, just tear the cover off the ball, and the Red Sox just being like, all right, Casas, Yoshida, everybody in the outfield, bye. Sorry. Like, that's Anthony's spot.
Yeah.
I would love for that to happen. We'll see.
Yeah. And I think you're right. Jackson Holiday, when he came up, he had that high leg kick. If you looked, he has actually changed that swing. He's actually modeled his toe tap and his timing off of Shohei to be faster to the ball because he realized that when he was up last time, he was getting beaten. He was just getting beat. And he made some tweaks, and that swing is really nice now, and he's going to be a problem for a long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, Roman Anthony is, we know how good Roman Anthony is. I mean, but at the same time, he's hitting 273 in AAA right now, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, 400 plus OBP. He's not tearing AAA apart. He's off to a very good start.
But his barrel rate is ridiculous. So even though the numbers aren't showing it, his barrel rate is 38.9% or something. I saw like that. The highest in the majors last year was Judge and Ohtani at barely over 20. Again, AAA versus MLB. So Uncle Ted, you're right. If his hands are on plane and he's making solid contact with the barrel, I mean, it looks like he's ready.
But just be careful with barrel rate, because just because he hits it in the barrel doesn't mean he actually hits it hard. He barreled 2 balls last game where they were rollovers to second base. They were hard ground balls, but they were rollovers on off-speed pitches, which is what the Red Sox want him to work on. So I do think his swing is on plane. His strike zone control is fantastic. He is an absolute elite level hitter, but he is down there working on things they want him to work on, which is off-speed pitching, left-handed pitching, and consistency in the box. He's not there yet. He has some absolutely amazing nights. And then watch the highlights on MLB TV. He has some nights that are really not very good. And he struggles against guys that can throw good off-speed stuff and lefties. And if you come up to the major leagues with those holes in your swing, you will get eaten alive. Yeah. And that's what they're trying to prevent. And like you said, Nick, that jump from AAA to the major leagues, that is not one level. That's like 3 levels.
Right.
And Roman Anthony tore spring training apart against a lot of guys who are in the minor leagues. I think everybody is foaming at the mouth for this kid. But when you break down where he's at, like, he's just not there yet. He is insanely talented and he'll be there, but he's 20 and he's got things to work on.
Yeah. He's close. He's not far off.
We're not saying
we're not saying he's leagues behind. Like,
but if you drop him in Red Sox lineup today, he's probably hitting 245, 250. Like, he's not helping you. They want him to fix what he's doing so that when he comes up, he stays.
Yeah. I agree.
And I just think the dude is, he's insane, but let's not rush him.
All right. Let's get up to
I just love a good Matt Stairs reference. Matt Stairs, that was a beer league swing and it worked great. Like 1 time out of 10.
Yep. All right. Let's get to the upcoming week and then we'll get up on out of here and get ready for the big show here. So Mariners come into town. Will it be an early test for the Red Sox offense? I mean, we know the pitching staff that the Mariners have, all the arms that they can throw out there on the bump, and the Mariners are red hot. They've won they're 8 out of 10, 8 of their last 10,
8 of their last 10. Yeah.
So this is a good early test for the Red Sox. Yes or no?
Yes, I think it's a good early test. I think that, especially with the offense, you want to face some elite level pitching. You're going to see a whole bunch of it. And you're going to see who really has their swing in order this time of year. And also an offense that's not great, but is good enough. Can the pitching staff beat the lineups they're supposed to beat? Yeah. It's a great test of, can you hit elite pitching, and a great test of, can you actually get out the hitters you're supposed to be able to get out?
Yeah. Well, you're not getting out Cal Raleigh right now. That dude is on a tear. Yeah. I mean, he's got 9 home runs now too, or he's hit 7 in the last 9 games or something like that. He's been on fire.
He's a freak.
Yeah. And then next weekend we're in Cleveland against the Guardians. So how we feel about that series?
I don't know what to make of the Guardians. They look good one night and terrible the next. I think that's a good test against a team that plays good baseball. They're not gonna beat themselves. But the Guardians one night will go out and make 3 errors and score 1 run. The next night they go out and they play perfect defense and score 7. I don't know what to make of that team. Again, these are the teams you're supposed to beat. You're supposed to go into Cleveland and take 2 out of 3. Yeah. You're supposed to play the Mariners and take 2 out of 3. If you want to win the AL East and be a legitimate playoff contender, these are the series you have to go in and you've got to take 2 out of 3. And they've not been able to do that against the teams that they're supposed to beat yet, which is why they're sitting at 12 and 11.
White Sox.
Yeah. I mean, let's not talk about the White Sox.
Yeah. So we'll get Logan Gilbert, we'll get Emerson, and Ric Flair's favorite pitcher, Brian. Woo!
Woo!
Yeah. I love that. I mean, those are good arms. Those are going to be tough to beat. If you don't get to any of them early, you're in for a long night for sure.
Yeah.
But what's the minimum? I mean, you kind of said it. 2 out of 3 out of both of these. Do you think that's the minimum for them to stay on track here? They gotta win 4 out of 6 here.
Yeah, you can't go 500 because you don't make any progress. You've got to take at least 4 of these 6. You have to continue. You have to begin to make some progress. You can't keep sitting there around 500, hoping that at some point you catch fire. You've got to start to slowly but surely chip away at separating yourself.
Yep.
Because you do not want to be sitting here in June, a few games back, just thinking maybe you could have gotten there.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. All right. Do we have anything else Red Sox related for this evening?
I mean, pretty quiet week for the Red Sox in general. They're not playing spectacularly well at the major league level. Minor leagues have been fun to watch. I've actually picked up I've been watching some of the minor league, at least the recaps, if not the games, if I can't catch them on MLB TV. There's a lot of young talent in this system. They just keep producing guys.
When's your first trip to Hadlock this year?
It's looking like it might be next month.
Nice.
So we got a few chances here to grab some tickets and just trying to find some time when it's going to work. But I'm definitely going to get there a few times this summer because there's just so much talent coming up through this system like we've probably never seen before.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Uncle Ted. I mean, the Red Sox are left-handed heavy. Like it's a tough lineup if you're a right-handed pitcher for sure.
That's the other problem with Roman Anthony is that he's yet another lefty in an already left-handed heavy lineup. You've got to find. I mean, and Bregman was one of those difference maker. I mean, Story's been a difference maker bat from the right side, which has been good.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Got a lot of lefties, and I would not want to be a right-handed pitcher coming in to face the Red Sox. That's for sure.
No. All right. Well, that will do it for rounding third Boston tonight. Wow, goodness, talk much. We will be back on for rounding third baseball in about 10 minutes. So you can come back for that. We talk league-wide news and we'll have trivia and all that stuff on there after this. Before you go to the rounding third Boston page and follow and like us. And you can subscribe on YouTube, listen on all the platforms. We appreciate all the comments, fellas. This is why we do this. We love talking baseball with you guys every night we come on. So really, really appreciate you guys coming on and talking with us. But yeah, come back in about 10 minutes. And until then, we'll talk Red Sox next Sunday.